It's a Friday, and we're talking football non-stop. All football, all the time. This is another edition of Football Friday with JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
What a weekend. It's a beautiful Friday afternoon. How spoiled are we to have temperatures near 90 in the first week of October? JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It's a Football Friday. We are in Highland, Utah, sitting here in one of the most beautiful views you will ever see, getting ready for some high school football tonight. Lone Peak hosting Skyridge in a massive Region 3 battle that you'll see on KSLSports.com, KSL Plus app, or the KSL Sports app. So you can have that to look forward to tonight. Me and Sly will be on the call. UFC this weekend. Riley, you're headed to UFC. You're a big MMA fan.
Yeah, Pereira. So growing up in Logan, there were some awesome moments in the Spectrum. I'm trying to think of other, maybe football. I'll be honest, I've never been to any big baseball moments.
Right.
Games that you played in, but no stadium type. Moments.
Right.
And I'm trying to think football. There's been a couple over the years, but the first one was Leon Edwards versus Kamaru Usman for the middleweight belt. And
the one here?
Yeah, were you there?
That was epic.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I've never been in a sports environment with that much juice and energy.
It was
And in the build up to it, and then the first few rounds, but just a little bit of tease for the fellow fight fans out there, and you'll remember the fight. So it's a 5-round championship, and Usman's a wrestler, Edwards is a striker. Usman's got him up against the cage. It's kind of a ho-hum fight, and we get to the last minute of the last round, and Usman was trying to run out the clock, and Herb Dean, UFC Hall of Fame, he's like, stand up. He's like, sorry guys, we got to fight. This is a championship fight. I'm not going to let you end this leaning against the cage. Stands him back up, he feints a straight left, and then brings the head kick, knocks him out. That place erupted. There's been some big jazz moments too,
of course,
but fight energy is just different energy. So I don't know what the I bought my tickets when they first released. I don't know what the secondary market's like, but if the availability's there and you're looking for something to do Saturday night, come join us in the Delta Center.
It's not pretty.
Cool.
My wife's been looking up prices.
Are
of
they
those.
still? The demand is staying high up.
Yeah.
Well, Dana is one of the ultimate capitalists, so I got.
JJ, you've been saying it.
It's
you've
not
been
cheap.
saying it. They could go anywhere in the world, and they're choosing Salt Lake City.
That's the coolest thing.
Salt Lake put on.
Utah, you are spoiled rotten right now.
Well, and sometimes when I hear Ryan Smith's optimism about what this state can be and what's he want and what
you're
he
like,
wants
yeah,
out to be,
right.
I know I'm kind of dismissive of it, but it proves true.
It's another example of talking.
Season tickets hockey sold out.
Talk things into existence.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and also have the highest growth state of any state in the union. Or highest growth rate of any state in the union.
There's that.
Yeah.
But if you have the money and you have the dream, talk things into existence and then go make it happen. Do the work, and that's
awesome.
Give Ryan credit for what he's built here as a sports empire. It's amazing, and for Dana White to trust, SEG, and to trust us as a state of Utah and this community to support that kind of event year in and year out is awesome. It's so cool, and so we are spoiled here. And of course, Utah Hockey Club gets underway. The season begins on Tuesday night, the historical home opener, season opener. That's going to be awesome. So we are spoiled this upcoming week. But, of course, this is a football show. We're talking about BYU and Utah, and while they're off this week, they will return next week with some big, big games. BYU playing Arizona at home, a 2 p.m. kick. And then, of course, Utah's got to go on the road after a rough one, go down to Tempe and play a team at Arizona State that's much improved. And much more dangerous than they have been the last 2 or 3 years. On a Friday night, of course, the Utes will be rested. But a big week coming up for the Utes and Cougars. Before we look ahead, though, I want to kind of look back on the first 5 games of the season, as we have been throughout this bye-week edition of a Football Friday. Biggest surprises so far with BYU, Utah. We can even throw some Utah State in there. Let's start with BYU being 5-0.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, come on. The most optimistic BYU fan, if you're being really honest and you sat down and took a lie detector test, You did not expect 5-0.
No.
5-0 with a blowout win at home over Kansas State and winning the way they have.
On top of
And
the contract.
and holding an SMU team on the road to 15 points.
Yeah.
An SMU team that's just awesome offensively.
Points against in the standings. You got an outlier with Iowa. I think a lot of people are sleeping on Iowa State the more and more I
Agree.
look at it. But they've allowed 29 points. Utah's allowed 76. BYU's allowed 78.
Right.
So other than the overall biggest surprise, that is the biggest surprise to me. That we are truly we're playing defense on a level halfway through the season, on a level with Utah, which everybody kind of was their presumptive conference pick, largely because of the strength of their defense. And BYU so far, it's through 5 games, is step for step with them.
Well, they brought in Jay Hill last year, and you knew it wasn't going to happen overnight. But Jay Hill and his system, which is obviously a very familiar system because it's the same thing they do at Utah, but they've turned that defense from 120th in defense last year to top 20. And it's obvious. And we talk about the chaos plays, right? Did you expect this team to be able to get to the quarterback finally? Was that a surprise to
No,
you?
I remember. So my senior year was 2012, and I remember seeing a stat. That was Bama beat Notre Dame in the national championship game, like 56-3 or something. And I remember seeing a stat that year. Bama's defense was averaging 8.5 points a game. It was like unreal. And we had a really good defense with us at BYU, but it was more of that Bronco style where they kind of wrestle you and suffocate you. It wasn't so much about creating turnovers and scoring points and the defense turning it into an offensive weapon. Maybe not to the degree of that Alabama team, which is probably a generational team and generational defense, but that's the style of play that this BYU defense is playing, and it's a joy to watch because I can't tell you the last time. I don't know, JJ, longtime BYU fan, longtime BYU media member. Have we ever seen a defense like this? We've seen great defenses, especially in the Bronco era.
Bronco had some defenses that were this good, but they didn't have the complementary football.
Well, the complementary football, and they also didn't score. I was on a couple of those teams.
Remember the Boise State game?
Yeah.
I mean,
you got goal line stands, you got things like that, but not a lot of picking it off, getting the ball out, returning it back for touchdowns.
The chaos plays are happening more than they were in the past, and it was really a focus.
The foundation of really solid defense.
Exactly. And look, let's give special teams some love for BYU.
Yeah.
2 special teams touchdowns by BYU. This is the first kickoff return for a touchdown since 2014. This is the first punt return for a touchdown. These things don't happen every year for BYU.
You know the common thread on that? From the last time we all did it, it was Kelly Papinga running the unit, and it's Kelly Papinga running the unit again. Coaching matters.
It does. And BYU's got some coaches in there that are getting the job done. I agree with you. Those are some of the surprises for BYU. On the Utah side of things, okay, Isaac Wilson playing this much, did not expect that. That's a big surprise. Obviously, we know why. What are some of the surprises, Sly, for you on the Utah side of things? Good and bad.
I mean, that's the biggest one, right? Another big surprise is just the injury bug all the way around from losing Karene Reed, Connor O'Toole. They've missed multiple substantial weeks. And this defense, the injury bug, I mean, I remember – when Karene got injured after Baylor, I'm interviewing Witten. Right after our interview, he just goes, "Why does this keep happening to us? I just don't get it. What the heck?" And so, it all the way around, that has been a huge surprise. The defense standing up, even though missing those is kind of not a surprise. We've been known, Morgan Scalley, Sharif Shaw, Colton Swan, Lou Powell, to get this defense ready to go no matter who's in there. So them standing tall doing that is not a surprise with Utah defense always being a staple. But the underutilization of personnel on offense, whether it's Isaac Wilson or Cam Rising, there's a reason why you made Isaac Wilson QB2. You should be opening the offense up to some degree. I mean, we don't know anything about Brandon Rose because we can't come see any practices. We don't know anything about Sam Heward, just, based off of what information is provided to us and where they lie on the depth chart. And so it's just where are we? As that's far concerned, I'm just I'm looking at the statistics of this offense. I came in with the huge belief that this is a 40-plus point offense. We just talked about SMU, right? Without that BYU game, SMU would be averaging 50-plus points a game, right? And so right now they're 42 a game, but that's Utah to me. No matter the opponent, whether it was Baylor, Oklahoma State, or whatever, I think we have the capability, complementary football with defense, to be averaging upwards of 35, 40 points a game. And we're severely underachieving in those
10
aspects.
10 points at home
Yeah.
in a night game at Rice-Eccles Stadium?
Yeah.
10.
Multiple times in the red zone. And again, and that was on our last segment, is like understanding the players. What are the best things? And so hopefully this bye week they can do that, which really going to suck, right? Because Cam Rice is going to come back next week, and you're going to have to go back to the old game plan. You're starting to get into a game plan with Isaac Wilson and what plays. And so there's just a huge discombobulation up there, and it sucks. So I just think that there's just been a lot of bewildered action on Utah, and underutilization of personnel, and then again the injury bug. Biggest surprise.
We're going to focus on the quarterback position because it's vital and it's so important. And Cam Rising's obviously a big name and he's accomplished a lot, but I think the Corinne Reed injury has not been talked about enough.
No, it hasn't.
Because ever since he went out against Baylor, the defense has not been the same up to that point in that Baylor game. It was crazy how dominant they were. Connor O'Toole as well, but Corinne Reed's the quarterback of that defense.
And and people don't understand how important that is. When you say the quarterback of the defense, why? Right? Why do you say the quarterback of the defense? This guy gets everybody lined up and ready to go, and you put a lot of onus on him. You look to him, they're like, okay, at this point of the game, where are we looking to? Who's going to give us that spark? He's the captain of the football team. So when you need that motivational guy at certain points in the game, that Oklahoma State game, late in that game when they started to make a comeback, who's supposed to get everything together? There is a guy who does that, and then everybody follows in. And so, yeah, I think the injury to Corinne Reed hasn't been talked in enough. And you know what? Hats off to Sione Fotu. I don't think he did a great job in that Baylor game. He didn't do a great job in the Utah State game, but those were really close. But ever since then, he has really done a terrific job of filling in and stepping in that role. So hats off to him for growth week to week. But again, when your guys that you come into this season with and you understand are going to be your guys are not there, it's completely disheartening. We're almost halfway through the season right now, and there's been a lot of our guys who hasn't played.
Yeah, it's been an interesting thing with Utah for sure, and having to have guys step up. Experience matters, and they've had to have guys come in that don't have a lot of experience, especially at the quarterback position. Back to BYU, Riley, real quick. If I told you, and this is a surprise to me, if I told you before the season that BYU would have a 5-0 start without a running back get 100 yards in a game, would you believe me?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
You said they're doing it by committee, and the yards per carry is right where you want it to be, but you haven't had a running back hit 100 yards.
You know what's so crazy? What about just total yards? Because Retzlaff's at 1,200 through 5 games. What is that, 240 a game?
Yeah.
You're not lighting it on fire.
Right.
That Kansas State game,
they didn't have to.
anomaly.
It really threw everything off.
They scored, 28 points in a matter of 7 minutes?
Short drives. They didn't have
special teams, defense, all this stuff, put them in position.
Yeah.
I mean, that might be a little bit of a little bit of a cause for concern for the second half of the season, because
you're going to need
you got to put together drives.
Your running backs don't have 100-yard games, and you lost your captain center. So these next 3 games, is that going to be an issue? Is the run game going to be able to get on track the way they'd like it to, while you're missing 1 or maybe 2 off-key offensive linemen, and you're going to rely on some depth there? I think the depth. This is another topic that I'm surprised for BYU. I'm surprised at BYU's depth, how much it stood up, because they've had to call on some guys.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit like, what's going on with Utah's depth? Because
okay, everybody, they're 4-1. Come on.
I know, but
it's an overreaction to the reaction.
But
at the same time, you have expectations, and we're not getting answers.
And it's not just you for Utah. We're going to be hard on Utah because the expectations were higher.
Right.
But the problems we saw against Arizona didn't just happen against Arizona. We've talked
when
about
you put
it
something on tape
every week.
When you put something on tape too.
Why against Baylor did all of a sudden Cam get hurt and everybody just takes the foot off the gas? Why were you down 14-3 against Utah State? That wasn't just it all happened at Arizona. It's just like a weird. It wasn't like BYU Kansas State where Kansas State
once
just had
once is a something, two
fool
is
me
a
once, whatever.
No, two is a trend.
There
three
you
is
go.
A problem or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So I felt like it was building for Utah. Like it really got exposed by Arizona. And with BYU, maybe they have some of those warts that just haven't been exposed yet. I don't know.
I'll say buckle up, and I don't know if we're up against a break.
We're
but
good.
Yeah, okay. Who's bad in the Big 12? Like, who's certifiably
Houston.
bad? Houston and
Houston
Kansas.
can't score.
TCU, you say?
TCU's garbage.
TCU, they blew that lead against UCF.
Is
Got
Baylor
blown
bad?
out by
Baylor's
SMU.
bad.
I don't think Baylor's very good.
Kansas,
Houston,
Yeah.
TCU.
You know who's not good is Oklahoma State.
they're not.
That's
Watching them in
that's
person.
the most disappointing
Yes.
team, not just in the Big 12. That's the most disappointing team in the country.
Right.
Because they had the Doak Walker Award winner
You gotta
coming back and
remember
that
this
entire
next year.
offensive line.
And a returning quarterback.
Yeah, it takes how long for the polls to forget last season? It takes 4 weeks before the polls forget last season, probably.
Yeah, and I don't even think you should take any stock in the polls until week 6.
Yeah.
That's when it really matters.
6 or 7.
like
we don't know if ASU is bad. And here's the crazy thing, guys. We mentioned all those teams, and they don't really show up on Utah's or BYU schedules for the most part. So, we don't know if ASU is bad. Cincy's frisky. Kansas State. A lot of people
still
hold
believe
by
in
that.
Kansas
Yes,
State.
Kansas State. UCF had that one. Like UCF and Colorado, that was kind of a little bit of a battle there. Colorado obviously come out on top. I don't know about. I'd rank West Virginia towards the lower end.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Are they on Utah's remaining
No.
schedule? Yeah, again,
BYU or Utah don't play West
BYU,
Virginia.
so they're kind of an outlier. And then you got Texas Tech. Are they on Utah's? They're on BYU's.
No.
Oh, they're on BYU. And then Colorado.
Yeah, Utah plays Iowa State at home
So you got
in week 11.
You got 4 teams we decided weren't good, and BYU and Utah basically play none of them. So we're gonna learn a lot still, even though we're 5 games in. We're gonna learn.
BYU
a lot.
does play Kansas, and both teams play Houston.
Oh, nice.
So
okay,
that's true. We thought Arizona was going to stink. I don't know what to think of them yet, because they did really well in non-conference, and they play a conference game, and
They went to bed, but again, a bye week. They were
it
able
was
to
an
get some
8-point
things
loss
together.
to Texas Tech. It's forgivable, right? And Texas Tech, maybe we're not talking about them enough. But the bottom line is it's still pretty wide open. And you talk about BYU being in the driver's seat. I mean, if they have their October lull again, then we're having a completely different conversation in the next bye week. Maybe this is an opportunity for Utah to circle the wagons, to use a cliche, and fix some of these problems and get Ham healthy.
That's why the Mountain West was great, because I felt like Whittingham in that era, which was obviously the era that we played in, but Whittingham and Bronco built very similar programs where they got better as the season went on. And often there was, at least for BYU, there was an early misstep. Obviously, Utah was able to kind of break through with that in 2008 and things like that. But they got better, and then that late season matchup was always good and culminating. BYU's gotten away from that, I think, a little bit under Kalani Sitake, maybe a little bit get out the gates really quick and then try and hold on to the end of the season. But maybe now that you got more Jay Hill, maybe BYU's back. Well, remains to be seen. But here's one thing. I bet Utah will get better as the season goes on. BYU has to prove that they will get better as the season goes on, and a lot of intrigue left.
Football Friday brought to you by G2G Bars with all natural ingredients, no preservatives, and plenty of protein. G2G Bars are perfect for anyone who needs a tasty and nutritious boost. Also, win lunch from the KSL Sports Zone and Cafe Rio on Taco Tuesday. Listen every Tuesday for your chance to win a $20 Cafe Rio gift card. Learn more about Taco Tuesday and the great deals available every week at CafeRio.com. We'll take a look around the Big 12 this week, coming up next on JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's a Friday, and we're talking football non-stop. All football, all the time. This is another edition of Football Friday with JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back, JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It's a Football Friday live from Lone Peak High School in Highland, Utah. We get ready for some high school football tonight. Big game in Region 3 between the Lone Peak Knights and the Sky Ridge Falcons. I'll be joined on the call by Sly next to me here as we call this big game tonight on the KSL Sports app, the KSL Plus app. You can watch it in your living room if you choose, and you can also watch it on your laptop on KSLSports.com. It all kicks off right around 7 p.m. It's also a UFC weekend in Utah once a year. We are very blessed and fortunate to have the UFC hold an event here, and we have been giving away tickets all week long, and we have 2 final tickets to give away, and we have a winner. It's time to reveal today's UFC ticket winner on the KSL Sports Zone. Today's winner of 2 tickets to UFC 307 at Delta Center on October 5th is Jennifer Lingwall from Draper. Jennifer.
Lucky.
You and a lucky someone are going to go watch UFC 307 on Saturday night. Fun card. Should be a great night. There's nothing quite like UFC in person. So Jennifer Lingwall, you have won 2 tickets to see UFC 307, courtesy of the KSL Sports Zone. Thanks for listening, Jennifer. Thanks for watching KSL 5 TV as well, as we've been giving away the keywords each night on the 10 o'clock news. All right, back to football. College football. Might even sneak some NFL in here in the last few minutes, Sly, since it is a bye week. We've hit the Utes and Cougars really hard. But I want to kind of set the table for moving forward. We've talked a lot. We've evaluated the first 5 games for BYU and Utah. We've done that really well. Riley Nelson had to leave early, so we'll miss Riley here as we do this. Alex Curie taking a well-deserved day off as well. So it's me and Sly the rest of the way here. We look around the Big 12, and there's not a lot of great games this week, so there's not anything that I'm looking at, Sly, as I look at the schedule that's going to alter the landscape of the league and the standings. There's not those big games. You mentioned Colorado's on a bye as well. By the way, surprises this year. I hate to do this because I don't really because I felt like Colorado was kind of a fraud. But
it's fluff. You and everybody else, everybody did.
They legit? They got 2 of the best players in college football, I know
any
that.
Given Saturday, any given Sunday, any given day, it could be your day, right? If you game plan the right way, you can make adjustments in the week. My biggest thing is I didn't think that they could make the adjustments to doing the things that they're doing, right? And they're not in the thick part of their schedule either, right? Like nobody really knew about UCF, right? And North Dakota State and Baylor, they barely beat Baylor, yada, yada, yada. So there's still a lot to be told at Colorado. Don't sit here and think we have it all figured out about them just yet. But they're doing a lot better than we expected them. So, hey, still a lot of football to be played. They haven't made a believer out of me just yet.
Me either.
But, hey, you got to give kudos for them for making some adjustments, and they've looked great the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, they have. And the comeback win against Baylor was impressive, but I don't think any of us were impressed with Baylor either, so it's kind of this wait-and-see thing.
Right.
They dominate UCF on the road. UCF, maybe they're not that good.
Right.
I don't know.
Nobody knew anything about them yet.
So here's what's happening in the league this weekend. And if you're a BYU and Utah fan, it's a good weekend since you don't have your own team to watch, to scout some of these teams and watch some teams around the league. Right now, when you're done listening to us, I'd rather you watch Lone Peak and Skyridge tonight, but if you want to watch some college football on ESPN, Houston and TCU are playing right now, although that feels like the toilet bowl, right? Like, what is that? That's not something I actually want to watch. Both teams struggling this year. TCU 3-2, 1-1 in Big 12 play. Houston 1-4, 0-2 in Big 12 play. Houston has really struggled to score this year. That game is underway in the first quarter on ESPN. You look around the rest of the games in the league. West Virginia's visiting Oklahoma State. We mentioned how disappointing Oklahoma State is. A loss for Oklahoma State this weekend at home probably eliminates them from Big 12 championship game contention, and they're in a big hole right now. Baylor at Iowa State. We both love Iowa State, 4-0, 1-0 in conference. Iowa State, I'm sure they win that game. If Baylor loses that game, they fall to 0-3. You got to wonder about their head coach, Dave Aranda. That's going to be a really tough spot for that program.
Right.
So that's a big game for Baylor. We mentioned Baylor needing to beat BYU because 4 of their next 6 games are going to be on the road, and that starts in Ames of all places. That's going to be tough. UCF playing Florida in non-conference action. Kansas is at Arizona State. That's kind of again, we talk about Kansas being 0-2, 1-4. Ugh. I thought Kansas, and I didn't buy into the hype that Kansas was a conference championship contender, but I thought they were going to be top 5 in the league, and they certainly are not. Arizona State, a nice surprise, although they lost to Texas Tech, but maybe we need to take Texas Tech seriously. Maybe they're good, and that's what takes us to the last game. It's going to be a 9 p.m. kickoff on Fox on Saturday. I'm sure you'll all be watching this. Arizona hosting Texas Tech. Now, BYU fans, you want to watch Arizona because that's your next opponent.
But you also want to watch Texas Tech because that's part of the schedule as well.
That's a team, but yeah, you might be able to see Texas Tech down the road in a Big 12 championship game if you're lucky enough to get that far. Texas Tech does not play BYU or Utah
during the season.
This season, which is an anomaly. It's weird, but that's when you have a 16-team conference, that's going to happen. And so Arizona obviously played Utah already. We saw how good they were. I take Arizona very seriously. I did before the season. I said they might have the best quarterback and the best receiver in the conference. They have one of the best receivers in the country. If they had the defense, if they had the complementary football, they could win it all. And right now they do. They do have the complementary football you saw last week.
I mean, you look at it, their only loss was to Kansas State, was not a conference game.
Right.
So you got to remember that loss to Kansas State could have been a wake-up call for them. They went right into a bye week right after that, regrouped, got ready, had a big win at Rice-Eccles Stadium, which is hard to do. And I'm telling you, I was on that sideline. The crowd was nuts. It was loud. It was loud, so it wasn't easy.
And it didn't faze them.
It did not faze them. Noah Fafita did a great job coming in there and instilling a win in Rice-Eccles Stadium, knowing how hard it is to do. But you got to take Arizona seriously. So that game against BYU and Arizona next week is going to be bigger than a lot of people expect.
Noah Fafita has two uncles that played at Utah.
I had a long conversation. I was at
you have
NFL,
any insight on that?
Yeah, I had a long conversation. I was at an NFLPA event last night, and we were talking about that, and it's a huge miss on Utah's part.
What happened?
They just didn't do what they needed to do. They just Noah Fafita wanted Utah.
Oh my gosh!
It was so bad that it was multiple times where like, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" Noah Fafita wanted, because he grew up in Utah. As you said, his uncle Steve, he grew up. Steve Fafita was just like, get Noah in here.
Kelly Talavo was his uncle too.
And it was just a huge miss. And here's the thing: Utah's at a level where we're getting so many people in, but you can't miss on guys like Noah Fafita who have history. My biggest thing is, for my program, I want guys who love my program.
You want people to come here for the right reasons.
Right. And if they have the talent and they love my program, like Isaac Wilson loves the University of Utah.
Yeah.
That's a guy that I want here, right? Like Noah Fafita grew up a Utah boy since he can remember, loves the University of Utah. Granted, now they're giving 18 years to all these guys in college. You don't know what you're getting from Cam Rising and all this, here nor there. But, like, Noah wanted to be here at Utah from what I've heard, and we severely missed the mark.
Just imagine Noah Fafita in this Utah offense with
Here's
that
the
defense.
Thing. Him and Tetsuo McMillan went to the same school in high school.
Ted McMillan probably would have followed him here.
Ted McMillan decommitted from Oregon to go with Noah. That could have been something here at Utah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And so, like, there's a couple guys that went to that school that are now on Arizona school that we all know. There's 7 or 8 guys on Arizona team that was at the same high school all together, and they're really, really great athletes. But, like, I mean, that is just something. I don't know exactly the recruiting department, so I can't say that, the times were right. But I just know that Noah Fafita grew up a Utah fan, wanted to be at the University of Utah.
Seems like it would have been the perfect fit. Seems like it should have happened, but hindsight, I get it. And Cam is still here, and so the thought may have been that Cam's here. We got Cam.
Yeah, well,
I get it.
I mean, there was knocks that were talking about it. He wasn't tall enough. We've been through it, man.
Yes.
If you can play football, you can play football. I'm sure Tua wasn't tall enough. Tua Tagovailoa was not tall enough,
He's
right?
not 6'2". Like 6'2" is the. That's where they say we want quarterbacks that are 6'2".
Drew Brees
tall,
was
right?
only 6 foot,
Right.
and he's a Hall of Famer. That's
5'11".
all the freaking
Yeah.
records, right?
Right.
That's what Noah Fafita is. He's
Yep.
5'10", 5'11". Huge, great athlete, has a big arm, extremely accurate, and is a gamer. He wanted to be at the University of Utah.
Hindsight, but that was a miss for Utah. That's unfortunate. But Utes move on. I'm sure they'll look forward to getting another shot at Arizona next year, but they missed their shot. Maybe we see it again down the road. The Utes got work to do, though, before we can even talk about that. But we'll see how the next bit of the season goes along. But, again, not a lot of big games to watch, but that Texas Tech-Arizona game late at night on Saturday night is one that everybody listening should tune in to see, because if Texas Tech goes to Tucson and wins, we have to take a look at Texas Tech. If Arizona beats Texas Tech, Arizona continues to beat a good team that's a potential contender, then you continue to have to take Arizona as a front runner in this conference, with Arizona going into that BYU game. If Arizona beats Texas Tech, you got Arizona and BYU that'll likely be top 25 opponents in a game that will determine first place in the Big 12 at the moment.
This will be huge. As you're saying, we're going to take a look at Texas Tech, right?
Yeah.
Texas Tech beats Arizona tomorrow night, right? They really don't have much competition after that rest of the season. They got Iowa State, but again, we still don't know much about Iowa State. But that's literally going to be their hardest test is Iowa State after this, and so they could possibly be in the Big 12 championship game. So, yeah, Texas Tech is definitely somebody you got to look at. They've played well, especially the last 3 weeks, and they're a threat for sure.
All right, that's a look around the Big 12. We got to take a break. Coming up next, more Football Friday right here on JJ and Alex 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's a Friday, and we're talking football non-stop. All football, all the time. This is another edition of Football Friday with JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, we got one brief, quick moment here to hit the NFL. Real quick slide. I just want to take a look at some of the games you thought were must-see games this weekend. Some interesting stuff around the league. We saw the Falcons and Bucks. That was a big game in the NFC South. The Falcons might be legit. Kirk Cousins at quarterback. A lot of offensive weapons on that team. Tyler Algier, one of them. But he's got receivers, and they look like they're pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, imagine it's insane. I mean, year after year, we're sitting over here and we're more surprised at how important a quarterback is, right? And now they got two. I love Michael Penix. I think he's going to do a great job, and now he's going to be your quarterback of the future. Kirk Cousins is your quarterback of now, and he proved it last night with over a 500-yard performance. It's a big divisional win because Tampa Bay is a big team in the entire NFL.
They won a lot. They won a playoff game last year.
And in your whole NFC, which, they came close against that game in Detroit in the playoffs as well. That came down to the wire. But, yeah, Atlanta's definitely a threat, and Kirk Cousins has proved that he's back from his injury, and he's making things happen.
Few other games of interest. Vikings, Sam Darnold, I'm sure, would love to give the Jets an L as they come to Minnesota. The Vikings could go 5-0, Sly. That's insane.
Crazy.
Broncos and Raiders. Winner has a winning record this season at 3-2, and in the hunt in the AFC West, although even with Kansas City's offense struggling, they're still the team to beat there. You look around, Bills Texans is really fascinating. Stephon Diggs versus his old team. Mm-hmm. I'm looking forward to that one. The Rams could fall to 1-4 if they lose to the Packers at home this weekend. That is crazy. And
I called that, though. I was like,
right.
Stafford's not.
You were on that one. Cowboys Steelers on KSL 5.
That's
Sunday
the
Night
game
Football.
that we should be talking about now.
I know you're saying that because you're a Steelers honk, but I want to watch that.
Yeah, it's going to be great, man, because one, everybody loves a good beatdown of the Dallas Cowboys, and none better than the best defense in the NFL in that. And Justin Fields is playing great. They had a heartbreaking loss last week. They're still striving. That was a tough game, came down to the wire, and so Pittsburgh is ready to go. They got an offense that is going better. They're getting more and more comfortable. I think Arthur Smith always wanted Justin Fields, even when Arthur Smith was down at Atlanta. So they're definitely clicking now, and more. You're getting experience week to week. It's great, but I do think the game of the week has to be Houston-Buffalo.
I would agree with that. I'm going to be locked in on that one. All right, that's a real quick look at the games to watch this weekend in the NFL. For an incredible selection on Kia, Subaru, Chevy, Jeep, Dodge, or Ram, visit Doug Smith dealerships in American Fork and Spanish Fork. Great service starts with know-how, and nobody knows how like Doug. Football Friday continues next on JJ and Alex 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.